Yeah, so it's easier to sort of get everything. So the positioning, this is for a, I'm going to actually bring this back a little bit more. So I like that position for an ulnar gutter. An ulnar gutter is normally used for a Boxer's fracture or a fifth metacarpal. Can be used for a fourth. Occasionally you'll see second and third, but fifth is primarily the bread and butter one that you see more commonly. And what happens with the fracture is that it tends to kick off. There's volar tilt of the head of the fifth, and you're looking to correct that, and you're trying to splint it. Because it's unstable fracture potentially, you're looking for a 3/4 coverage of the metacarpal. So you're going to have a volar, an ulnar side, and a posterior or dorsal side to the splint. So it's going to be a 3/4 splint. You want to go really to the tip of the finger. You can sometimes only have to go to the distal IP joint, but really I always just get in the habit of going to the tip because you can't really go wrong. You're not going to get a stiff IP joint having it on. The position you're looking for is that 90 degrees of MCP flexion with extension of your IP joint and some wrist extension, so 30 degrees of wrist extension. Some people talk about latent Hewitt, come on, that's getting a bit dated. No one knows who he is anymore unless you're in Adelaide. Walk like an Egyptian, or just give me a claw. Often the patient will be in pain, so they're not going to be able to do that for you, but they might be able to do this. And if they can get to that position for you before you manipulate it, that'll stop all of the bandaging and bunching up. So you'll maintain good padding and you won't create any sort of pressure areas. If you put the cast on in this position and then go to here, you'll get a crease in the splint and it'll dig into the patient. So you don't want to do that. So you want to try and get the patient helping you. It's worth telling them that if they can get this bone straight, they're going to have more strength in their little finger. Why does that matter? Well, it's only a little finger. It's what locks in your power grip. So if you want to hold a racket or a bat or a power tool or anything like that, you need your pinky to lock it in. It's between your thumb and your pinky that really a lot of the grip is. So that might be motivation to get that patient to work with you to get this position so you can straighten that bone. So where am I measuring from? I'm going to, I've got a bandage under there that I was going to use. I'll just grab a bandage. Because I'm on the screen and asking you guys less questions. But if you've got questions, please jump in any time. So if I measure from the tip to, it's still about 3 fingers, but 3 fingers from here, by the time you come around, actually looks quite high. And because this injury is quite distal, I don't actually have to go that far down the forearm with this. So, that's going to be plenty. So again...
Can you see Aisha?
Sorry?
I was just checking to...
Yeah, did you see that? Sorry. So I measure what I need, cut maybe a centimetre more just in case. Straight away, put the clip on. So to do that, just take it out a little bit, push it right in. So make sure you give yourself plenty of foil to work with. That's probably the mistake that I always see.
Do you fold over the splint?
Yeah, I push it in and fold it over on itself. So I tuck it right in. My whole hand's got to disappear because you need to be able to flatten the foil out with nothing in it. If you have something in it, it tends to push the clip too far to the end, and then you don't get that seal from end to end. But if you do that, you can see how quick it is. It only takes seconds to do.
And it doesn't matter being folded back because it'll stay soft, so it will...
Yeah, it'll just flop back out. And when you're measuring it, you're still measuring from where you cut, because that's where it wants to fall back to, when that's the actual length of it.
And before I forget too, so 10 minutes going off with no water.
Yeah.
How many minutes with
If you put a lot of water, you're going to have like a 5-minute working time. And I'll use water in this one, so you'll get to see that. So with this one, we just did a 45-degree cut last time. for our template. I can go straight in the bin, and I'll do another 45. And that's just my basic template. And when I do that, you can see that I'm going to clear the other fingers so they can move. But I've got good coverage of the fifth. So I'm happy with that. I open up. What do I have to do? I have to cut back 1 centimetre. Everyone always worries. You can see how I've got a different shape here, because one edge is that 45, but it works out once I cut this off. I round that off. I'm going to put the non-opening side on the volar aspect because that's where I want more material. So if you think about this, there's a bit more substrate on this edge than there is where the opening is, because I've got that centimetre. So I'll check that again. I'll have a look at my length. So you check the length of the arm straight. So I can cut a bit off there, so that's good. So my centimetre of extra wasn't needed. That's fine. And you've got a choice here. I could do two things. I could cut my centimetre off, and then I'm just going to leave the extra padding. I could cut the template off, and then I'm going to be quite generous with my cutting off the corners and cutting it back. It's just an extra step, and I'm always happy to have a little bit of extra padding. It doesn't really get in the way. You can always tuck it in when you're rolling if you're worried, and it's not going to dig into the patient, that's what you're worried about. So that's my position. So for this one, I do have to come around. I reckon you're going to be better on this side of me. Sorry, I can't do this from behind. Now, the advantage of this position is if the patient relaxes, that's actually not an uncomfortable position for the patient to be. They're not working very hard. They just let their wrist drop and relax. But if they can do that for me, just let it drop and think about having your claw with your wrist a little bit extended. So yeah, that's it. I'm still going to, again, I could try and bandage this on, but I'll have a lot more control if I lay the bandage on, pop that on. Remember, I want that non-opening edge on the volar side. Come around, just tip that in, and then I can firmly bandage that on. You can see here, just by holding the bandage, I've still got a free hand just to adjust this, and it's not going anywhere.
So how did you do that again?
So
Sorry.
just to get that position, you need to lock the bandage, and always make sure when you put it on that you do put it with a bit of tension. If you just lay it on, you'll still spin around. All right, so once I've got it there, I can just pick up this, tip that in, and then I can capture it. And the patient can just sit there. I'm in a really good working position. I'm not reaching, I'm not stretching. And I've got a chance here. This is where you really check that you're happy with your position. Just straightening your hand, sorry. And then just go back down into that claw. That's great. Patients aren't normally going to be that compliant, but you can sort of see. So here, what I'm looking for is I'm looking to come through the web space. So I'm just going to fold it through. So when I'm coming through, I can cut or I can fold. So fold and just lay it through.
And you cut on the thumb side?
Yeah, I'll just cut on the thumb side from the back and then come through, and I'll show you with the handy gauze again. And then here, I'm going to come around through the fingers, and I've just forgotten one little thing. Just for sweat, you can pop that in. Sorry, I just realised, because of the last one, I didn't wet it. I'm going to show you how to wet it. Sorry. So if I was to wet it, I'm just going to wet it at the top. I said I was going to show you and then I forgot. And I'm just going to push that through. All right, so I'm just wetting at the top because I want the top to go off first. You can feel that's wet, right? You wouldn't want to put that on your skin because it's wet. So you just grab a towel, pick it up like that, and just roll it, give it a squeeze. That helps to activate it as well. Flip it around and do it again. So you always do it twice and do it in a different direction. So by doing it one way and then the other, that stops the substrate from walking out. Sure. You want to have a feel? Yeah, so it's very good at wicking away the moisture. You don't have to worry about the padding being wet and putting it on the patient. So I'll just redo that. You'll get to see me do that again. So just resting your arm there, that's it. I'll go a bit quicker this time. Happy with that. Firmly around, coming up. Firmly around. Lay it through the web space. Come around. Just straighten your fingers for me. You do need the fingers to be straight. Just check that, that's good. There's my little, just to fill that in. You can tuck that, pull that out as you need, or cut it off. I'll trim it later. Just come around through the fingers. Now here's where people lose tension when they're doing the bandaging. So you do need to make sure that you sort of place that right around the two fingers and keep the tension. And sometimes I encourage people to just sort of wind their bandage back, because at that point they tend to lose it. And then you want to come through the web space one more time. And at this point you can give me your claw as best you can and just bend that wrist back. So I'm just going to lay that through and then straighten up. And then I'm going to work my way down. And then I'm going to get to my mould. And so I've used a 10, we'll do most adults, and a 7.5 bandage makes it good to get through the web space and so forth. So that gets me to the bottom. And now with my moulding, all I really want to worry about here, and I'll just trim that so it's not in the way, is I want to get that positioning right. And to do that, I put my finger behind the carpal bones and my thumb right over the 5th metacarpal. And so I'm using my right hand on the left, and that thumb is laying over the whole of the 5th metacarpal. So I've got that line. And just by doing that, you can see I've automatically got my wrist extension. Now I just need to keep the fingers straight. So I need to straighten the IPs, and I can almost take the fingers back before bending at the MCP. And then I can just really focus that control. And you're sort of pushing with the thumb, sort of pulling with the fingers, keeping them extended, and you've got really good control. And I've gone straight to the position here because I've got a very comfortable patient because it's not broken. But if you've had the conversation, telling them what you're going to do, you say, we want to get to 70 minimum, but 90's better. And that's my goal. And then how you're coping, talk to them about the fact they're not going to drive home, and they go, yeah, but I can drive one-handed. No, you're not insured. Do you know what to look out for if you're getting any too much swelling in your hand, pins and needles? Do you know what position your arm is elevated in? Do you sleep like with your hand up above your head like this at night, or do you just have it resting on your chest? All those sort of things where you can talk to them about how they're going to look after it while you're doing this, and just holding and gradually bringing it down. If they say their pain's too much, you go, well, what's your pain out of 10? Do you know it's 5? Okay, we'll back it off. You back it off a mil and just hold it there. How are you coping now? It's back down to a 3. I'm happy. I'm just going to ease it down again, and you just keep holding it.
So no traction on the fingers? You don't need that?
Yeah, I've got a bit of traction here. I'm pulling, and I'm sort of hyperextending not hyperextending, but I'm pulling them right into extension, the IPs.
Do the docs ever say they need to sort of do a hematoma block or, any blocks to get through it?
Yeah. So, and then if you want to have a practice of that, doing that position, because it's sort of a funny thing to do if you haven't done it before. There's other ways of doing it. Some people will use a fist in the palm just to get it on a really big hand if they can't feel like they can control it. But I feel like you've got a lot more control, and your thumb is actually going to where you need to do the correction.
Where is it? Where are you actually getting? You wanting to get her fingers to? So you want them to be at 19?
Yeah,
right.
At the MCP. Yeah, and usually when you've got that, you'll find that the tip of the fingers sort of line up with the palm when they've got the right amount of wrist extension. But anywhere between 70 and 90 is enough to maintain the functional strength of the hand. That's what the orthopods tell me.